The dusty streets of Omaka village stretched behind Amaka as she stood at the bus terminal, clutching her worn-out suitcase. The air was thick with a familiar scent of roasted plantain and the distant hum of traders calling out their wares. But today, everything felt different. Today was the day she would leave everything behind: her childhood home, her aging mother, and the only life she had ever known. "My daughter," Mama Nkechi said softly, "you are going to a land of opportunity. Do not forget who you are, and never forget me." Her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear as she turned to face her mother, Mama Nkechi. The elderly woman's frail hands trembled as she cupped Amaka's face, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Amaka swallowed hard. "Mama, I could never forget you. This is for us, for a better life. I will work hard and send money so that you can live comfortably." Mama Nkechi nodded, though her lips quivered. "I trust you, my child, but promise me one thing. Take care of yourself. I promise." Standing beside them was Ifeoma, Amaka's best friend since childhood. Ifeoma with her bright smile and confident air. "Don't worry, Mama. I will take care of her. She will never lack anything. I'll be here to ensure you have everything you need." Amaka smiled, feeling reassured. Ifeoma had always been like a sister to her. Trusting her to care for her mother in her absence felt natural. The bus to Lagos honked loudly, snapping her back to reality. This was it. With one final hug, she climbed onto the bus. As it pulled away, she watched her mother shrink into the distance, her heart aching with every mile that separated them. She was on her way to the United States. A new beginning awaited. The hum of the airplane engines vibrated through Amaka's body as she stared out of the tiny oval window. Below, an endless expanse of clouds stretched toward the horizon, a breathtaking reminder of how far she was from home. The flight from Lagos to New York had been long, but exhaustion was the last thing on her mind. She was finally here, the United States of America. As the plane descended, the city lights of New York twinkled like scattered diamonds, a stark contrast to the dim lanterns of Omaka village. Her heart pounded with excitement and anxiety. This was the land of opportunity, but she knew that nothing would come easy. When she finally stepped off the plane, a rush of cold air hit her. The winter chill beat at her skin, making her shiver despite her thick sweater. Back home, the Harmattan season brought cold mornings, but this was different, sharp, unforgiving. At the arrival's gate, she spotted her cousin Adora, waving excitedly. Adora had moved to the US 5 years ago and had graciously agreed to take her in until she found her footing. "Amaka," Adora embraced her tightly. "Look at you. Welcome to America." Amaka smiled, relieved to see a familiar face. "Thank you, Ada. It feels unreal." Adora laughed. "Oh, it's real, my dear. And trust me, life here is nothing like Nollywood movies. It's tough, but you will make it." As they stepped outside the airport, Amaka gasped. Snow? She had only seen it in movies, but now it was real. Covering the streets in a soft white blanket, she watched in awe as people hurried past, bundled in thick coats. They took a taxi to Adora's tiny apartment in the Bronx. The buildings loomed high, the streets alive with honking cars and flashing billboards. Everything was loud, fast, and overwhelming. Inside the apartment, the warmth was comforting. Amaka dropped her suitcase, taking a deep breath. "You must be tired," Adora said. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow we start figuring out jobs and paperwork. You need to work hard if you want to make it here." Amaka nodded. She had always been a hard worker. "I'm ready." As she lay on the small mattress in the corner of the room, she thought about her mother. She imagined Mama Nkechi in the village, probably sitting outside their small house, waiting for news from her daughter. Amaka reached for her phone and sent a quick, "I have arrived safely. Please take care of Mama. I will start working soon and send money." Ifeoma's reply came almost instantly. "Don't worry, my sister. I will take care of her like she's my mother." Relieved, Amaka closed her eyes. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The next morning, Amaka woke up to the sound of car horns and distant chatter outside the apartment window. She stretched, her body still aching from the long journey, but there was no time to waste. Adora had already left for work, but she had left a note on the small dining table. "Make yourself at home. Check the fridge for food. When I get back, we'll start looking for job opportunities. Welcome to the hustle." Amaka smiled. She appreciated Adora's kindness, but deep inside, anxiety gnawed at her. She had come to America with dreams of success, but she knew that dreams meant nothing without hard work. Determined, she freshened up and made herself a cup of tea. She scrolled through her phone and saw a message from Ifeoma. "How was your first night in America? Mama is fine. She misses you." Amaka's heart warmed. "Tell her I miss her too. I will send money soon." Ifeoma's response was immediate. "No wahala, my sister. I will take care of her. Just focus on making money." Reassured, Amaka put down her phone and decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. Stepping outside, the cold air made her pull her jacket tighter around her body. The streets of the Bronx were nothing like the village back home. People walked quickly, barely making eye contact. The tall buildings made her feel small, and the noise, sirens, honking, shouting was overwhelming. She found a small grocery store and decided to go inside. The prices made her eyes widen. How do people survive here? She thought. She picked up a small loaf of bread and a carton of milk, counting the few dollars Adora had given her. Every penny mattered now. As she made her way back, she passed by a Nigerian restaurant with a sign, "Mama Nkechi's African Kitchen." Her heart ached at the name. It reminded her of her mother. Pushing her emotions aside, she entered. The familiar aroma of jollof rice, egusi soup, and fried plantain filled the air. An elderly woman behind the counter smiled at her. "You are new here?" "Yes, ma," Amaka said politely. "I just arrived from Nigeria." "Welcome, my dear. Are you looking for food or work?" At the word work, Amaka's eyes lit up. "Do you have any job openings?" The woman chuckled. "Are you ready to wash plates and serve food?" "I'm ready to do anything." The woman studied her for a moment before nodding. "Come back tomorrow. We will see what you can do." That evening, Adora came home, exhausted from work. "How was your day?" "I think I found a job at a Nigerian restaurant." Adora's eyes widened. "That is great. It is not easy to find work here, especially without papers." The next day, Amaka reported to the restaurant. The work was hard, washing dishes, cleaning tables, serving customers, but she didn't complain. At the end of her first week, she received her first paycheck. It wasn't much, but to her, it was a fortune. She immediately sent a large portion of it to Ifeoma. Use this for mama's food and medicine. I will send more soon. Ifeoma responded, you are too kind, my sister. Don't worry, Mama is in safe hands. Little did Amaka know, those words were the beginning of a terrible betrayal. Amaka wiped sweat from her forehead as she stacked plates behind the counter. The restaurant was busy, filled with Nigerian immigrants who craved a taste of home. She had been working tirelessly for 3 weeks now, saving every dollar she could. Though the work was exhausting, she found comfort in knowing she was fulfilling her promise to Mama. Every Friday, she sent money to Ifeoma, trusting that her best friend was using it to care for Mama Nkechi. Please, make sure Mama eats well and gets her medicine. Amaka tested after sending another payment. Of course, my sister, she's my mother too. Don't worry, she's replied. The words reassured Amaka, but deep inside she wished she could see her mother for herself. Video calls were difficult in the village due to the poor network, and whenever she asked Ifeoma to send pictures, Ifeoma always had an excuse. Mama is too weak to hold the phone, Ifeoma had once said. Amaka's heart ached, but she convinced herself that her mother was in good hands. Back in Umaka village, Ifeoma scrolled through her phone, sipping a chilled bottle of Coca-Cola. She was seated in a local bar, surrounded by friends who laughed and chatted around her. Unlike before, when she used to count every naira carefully, she now had money to spare. She had stopped visiting Mama Nkechi weeks ago. Instead, she used Amaka's money to enjoy a lavish lifestyle, buying new clothes, eating expensive meals, and even funding a secret romantic affair with a local businessman. Whenever Amaka sent money, Ifeoma would smile and reply with lies. Mama is getting better. Oh. She ate some fresh fish soup today, she even added. But in reality, Mama Nkechi was suffering alone in her small hut. The old woman's health worsened. She barely had food to eat. Auntie Grace, a kind neighbor, sometimes brought her small meals, but it was never enough. Where is Ifeoma? Mama Nkechi will ask weekly. She says she is busy. Auntie Grace will respond, though her heart burned with anger. The villagers began to whisper. They knew Amaka was sending money, yet Mama Nkechi was suffering. But no one dared to challenge Ifeoma, who now walked around the village with confidence as if she were a queen. One evening, as Amaka rested after a long shift, she received a message from an unknown number. Amaka, this is Auntie Grace. I need to tell you something about your mother. Amaka's heart pounded. She immediately replied, what is it, Auntie? Is Mama okay? There was a long pause before Auntie Grace responded. Call me when you are alone. Fear gripped Amaka. Something was wrong. She hurried to her room, her hands shaking as she dialed the number. When Auntie Grace picked up, her voice was low and filled with worry. Amaka, I don't know how to say this, but your mother is suffering. She has been sick and hungry for weeks. Ifeoma is not taking care of her. The words hit Amaka like a slap. What? That is not possible. I send money every week. Auntie Grace sighed. Then Ifeoma is not using it for your mother. She has not been here in a long time. Your mother is alone, Amaka. Tears welled in Amaka's eyes. No, Ifeoma wouldn't do that to me. She's my best friend. Then come and see for yourself, Auntie Grace said. Amaka's breath hitched. She had sacrificed everything to make sure her mother was okay. If Ifeoma had truly betrayed her, she didn't know what she would. Wiping her tears, she made a decision. It was time to go home. Amaka barely slept that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with questions. Could Ifeoma really betray me? Was Auntie Grace telling the truth? What if Mama is suffering because of my mistake? By morning, she had made up her mind she was going home. Adora was shocked when Amaka told her, "So soon? Are you sure? What about your job?" Amaka shook her head. "None of that matters if my mother is suffering." Adora sighed. "I understand, but be careful. If Oma has been lying to you all this time, she won't admit it easily." Amaka nodded, her jaw clenched in anger and determination. She booked the earliest available flight. Within 2 days, she was on her way back to Nigeria. The journey from Lagos to Omaka felt longer than ever as the old bus bounced over potholes. Amaka's heart pounded with anxiety. Finally, she arrived at the familiar dusty roads of her village, but something felt different. Something was wrong. As she stepped down from the bus, she noticed the villagers staring at her. Whispers followed her as she dragged her suitcase through the streets. Her stomach twisted. "Why is everyone looking at me like this?" She hurried towards her family home, her pulse quickening with every step. As she turned the corner, her heart stopped. A small crowd had gathered in front of her house. Amaka dropped her suitcase. "Auntie, what is going on?" Auntie Grace stepped forward, her lips trembling. "My child, I am so sorry." A sharp ringing filled Amaka's ears. "Sorry? Sorry for what?" No one spoke. Then her eyes fell on a small pile of freshly dug red earth. Her knees buckled. No. Tell me this is not what I think it is." Auntie Grace caught her as she collapsed, sobbing. "Amaka, your mother is gone." A scream tore from Amaka's throat. She fell onto the ground, clawing at the dirt, wailing like a wounded animal. Mama Nkechi was gone, and she hadn't even known. Through her grief, a new emotion surged. Rage. Ifeoma, the person she had trusted more than anyone, the person who had promised to take care of her mother. Fueled by fury, Amaka stormed towards Ifeoma's house. Villagers followed, whispering in hushed voices, eager to witness what was about to happen. She didn't bother knocking. She kicked the door open. Ifeoma sat inside, dressed in fine clothes, eating a plate of rice and chicken. The sight made Amaka's blood boil. Ifeoma looked up, her eyes widening in shock. "Amaka, you are back?" Without thinking, Amaka lunged at her, grabbing her by the collar. "You killed my mother," she screamed. "Where is the money I sent?" Ifeoma struggled, pushing her away. "What are you talking about? I never received any money." The blatant lie sent a fresh wave of fury through Amaka. "Liar! I sent you money every week. Where is it? Where is my mother's food? Her medicine?" Ifeoma's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. "Amaka, please, let's talk." But Amaka was beyond reason. "You let her starve while you enjoyed my sweat. My mother died because of you." The villagers began to murmur. Some of them had suspected the truth, but seeing Amaka's raw grief made it undeniable. Emeka, Ifeoma's younger brother, stepped forward, guilt written all over his face. "Amaka, she's telling the truth." Ifeoma spun toward him, her face pale. "Emeka, shut up!" But it was too late. Emeka looked at Amaka with teary eyes. "She used your money for herself. She bought new clothes, threw parties, traveled to the city. She never gave Mama Nkechi a single kobo." Gasps filled the room. Amaka trembled with rage, her vision blurred with tears. "I trusted you, Ifeoma," she whispered. "You were my sister." Ifeoma fell to her knees, pretending to sob. "Amaka, please, I made a mistake." Amaka stepped back, her chest heaving. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." The villagers were already calling for justice. Someone ran to fetch the local chief. Others demanded Ifeoma be punished. But Amaka didn't wait. She turned and walked out, her heart shattered beyond repair. Her mother was gone, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows over the village as Amaka sat beside her mother's grave, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. The world around her felt like a cruel, distorted dream, one she couldn't wake from. Her mother was gone. All the sacrifices, the long hours at the restaurant, the nights spent counting every dollar before sending it home, it had all been for nothing. Ifeoma had stolen it all, leaving Mama Nkechi to suffer and die alone. Auntie Grace sat beside her, sighing deeply. "My child, I know there are no words that can ease your pain, but you must find a way to be strong." Amaka shook her head. "I should have come back sooner. I should have called more. I should have known." "No, my dear, the only person to blame is Ifeoma. She betrayed you in the worst way." Amaka clenched her fists. The thought of Ifeoma enjoying life while her mother had suffered made her blood boil. The villagers had already turned against her former best friend. She had heard whispers that Ifeoma had gone into hiding, fearing the wrath of the community. But no punishment would ever be enough. Nothing could bring Mama back. The next morning, the village chief summoned Amaka and Ifeoma to his palace. The entire village gathered, their murmurs filling the air like restless spirits.